I've seen more covered over daily updating. So then I'll show you media NDC for an press conference led by a General Mosquito because about 20 and or more recality some of the parliamentary seat to NPP. Abra some of them so they are two Abaneri returning officer for that very constituency. No, I declare Abaneri, but Yantias say Afe na almost a recoalition. Na almost a declare Aban for an Asiedu Nketiah. Eddie say Abano there. Omon train Monya regulation, and then on the more serious note, no, omo bedding, omo be injected process, be injected process. I'm saying, Yanko, Nketiah, and Semino, the far commercial conversation. God bless you.
To court and have applied to injunct the process that is going on there, and we hope. We are putting the Electoral Commission and all other people involved in that illegality on notice that what they are doing amounts to an illegality. If they choose to proceed, then they will be ready for the consequences. The staff of the commission who are engaged in this illegality, there will be consequences for them in future. And let me also advise some other influential people in society. I hear that in some places, chiefs are involving themselves in this electoral process and putting pressure on commission officers not to proceed to do their work according to law. We are also advising Nananom that it is for very good reasons that the Constitution provides that Nananom should not be involved in active partisan politics. But if they choose to descend into the arena of controversy, then they know the consequences will be obvious. So we are advising Nananom to conduct themselves, as many of those who are involved should conduct themselves as chiefs of all the contestants and not to enter into this arena of controversy. Because if you present yourself as a politician, we will treat you as a politician. If you present yourself as a competitor, we treat you as competitor. If you present yourself as a contestant, the other contestants will treat you as such. And I don't think it will be good for us, because the provision in the Constitution barring chiefs from participating in this active politics has at least served our democracy that far. And so we are advising Nananom to take note of that and contribute their quota by way of peace building rather than entering the arena of controversy. Now, I heard my junior brother Afenyo Makin, who, having rejected the position of minority leader, is now on his way to becoming a micro minority leader. Bragging that he belongs to a party of rule of law and all that. Who doesn't know about NPP? We in the National Democratic Congress don't need lectures from Afenyo Makin about democracy at all. Indeed, if there were any need for lectures in impunity, then we will invite him as our lecturer. But if it is about democracy, he must shut up. He should go back to his region and take stock of his parliamentary candidates who have been shooting and killing people, his party people who have been shooting and maiming people across the country. We are quiet not because we are going to sleep over this. We are sending notice that all this violence, right from 2016 to date, will be properly investigated, and our electoral system and democracy will be cleaned of these violent states. Immediately we take over. And so anybody who is thinking about abusing these 3 weeks, abusing his power during these 3 weeks to create any problem, he must know that there will be consequences for him after the takeover. We want to thank you all, and may God bless our homeland, Ghana.
Okay, please. No questions.
No, we want. Well, if you want to ask any questions, you are free to do so that. So on. But whatever name you call Rose, it will still smell sweet. And a decorated donkey still remains an ass. It cannot be turned into a horse. We in the NDC believe that what is happening at the police training school amounts to illegality. It is not founded on any laws of our elections. Neither is it based on any consensus that has been reached between the parties and the Electoral Commission. And so we want to inform the nation and to give notice to any officials of the Commission and the police who are involved in the perpetration of that illegality, to know that there could be consequences of their actions in future. We know the process of our elections is quite clear. After voting, votes are counted and the results entered on what we call the result declaration forms, or the pink sheet, and the presiding officer at the polling station proceeds to announce the outcomes at the polling stations, after which all party agents sign and then are given copies of the results. The reason is that everybody will be having the same figures simultaneously. That is one of the most important checks in our elections. And that is why we always say that elections are won or lost at polling stations. Now, after what has been declared at the polling station, the law requires the presiding officer to paste a copy of the result declared at the polling station at the place where the election took place. And then, after after all these declarations have been done at the various polling stations, then the parties, together with the Electoral Commission, will now meet at a constituency collation center where the originals of the results declared at the polling station, which will be in the possession of the Electoral Commission, will be produced, and tallies are made out of that EC copies. But to check that EC itself will not play games, all the participating parties will have their collation agents at the collation center, and they will come there with copies of each of the polling station results, so that when the EC constituency collation officer mentions a polling station by name and code and mention the figures, then all the parties that have copies of the pink sheets will now verify and check whether the figures on their copies of the pink sheet tally with what the Electoral Commission is mentioning. This provision is a check on the Electoral Commission officers so that they themselves cannot perpetrate fraud during the elections. Now, after we all agree on the figures as mentioned, because if everything is right, all the figures must tally, because the pink sheets are filled in quadruplicate, duplicate, quintuplicate, or whatever the case may be, depending on the number of candidates. So everybody will have the same copy. So the moment figures change and you find parties holding different documents with different tallies of votes, then there is a big problem. And that problem cannot be pinned on a single political party, because the same way political parties are capable of perpetrating fraud, the Electoral Commission officers also are capable of perpetrating the same fraud. So you need to find a way of looking at it so that you can identify who did the wrong thing. But whatever happens, at the constituency collation centers, the results are entered also onto the collation sheet and are signed and certified and pronounced upon by the returning officer. And in our elections, in our general elections, you have two categories of returning officers. The returning officer for parliamentary elections, and they alone have exclusive powers to pronounce the outcomes of the elections, and nobody else. That is why it takes the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, who is the designated returning officer for presidential elections, to pronounce on the presidential elections. No other person can pronounce on the presidential elections apart from the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. In much the same way, at the constituency level, the law mandates only the returning officer in the constituency to pronounce on the
na yɛsɛ sɛ w'ani gye yɛ dwumadi no ho a na wahyɛ na walike na wode comment nso ayɛ dɛn ahyɛ comment section ama yɛbɛgye berɛ na yɛaka matiefoɔ ne ahwɛfoɔ nyinaa tv daily updates so na wohwɛ 24/7. We give you the best. Nyame hyɛ no nyɛ Kesi. God bless you.